Hey ladies, it is Team Tuesday, and so our tip today is going to be vendor shows. The first thing that I always get asked is, where do I find vendor shows at? You can find vendor shows in a million different places, so you really have to watch for them. You can find them on Craigslist. You can look up Facebook and type in, like, in the search bar, your state and vendor events or shows or whatever, and usually a ton of different groups pop up. You can find them in the paper. You can look up your local Chamber of Commerce and see on their calendar if they have any events coming up, and usually there's a name on there for who you can contact regarding that event. There are, my son's outside in the sandbox, so I gotta keep an eye on him. There's a bunch of different ways that you can find events. I think that the best way to score events is by networking with other vendors. So if you know other direct sales reps, network with them and see if they know of any shows coming up that they're doing, and see if you can contact the coordinator to see if you can get in for that. So that's how you go about getting a show. Usually you pay a deposit, and you find out you usually get a contract, and that'll tell you if you need to bring tables, chairs, things like that, what kind of space you have. Most spaces, usually here, you just get one table and usually two chairs. So that's how you go about getting the event. So you have an event booked, and I always hear, I have an event booked, now what do I need? Okay, so this is what I'm going to tell you. I've told every person on my team, and I will continue to say this. This is the deal about vendor shows, okay? When you get a vendor show, you're not going to get rich off of that show. That is not why you are doing vendor shows. So if you're doing vendor shows thinking that you're going to sell $200 worth of product, come home with 4 recruits and 3 parties booked, you're going to be really disappointed, okay? Vendor events are for you to go out and get contacts. That is the number one thing. So it isn't about how much stock you have. It isn't about how many samples or how many different scents you have. It isn't about if you have a simmering light and a simmering pot. It's about how you are going to get those contacts. You can go to a show with a ton of product and no way of knowing how to do the vendor show properly, or no way of getting leads, and that product isn't going to mean nothing. So you've really got to be smart about how you do it. So you get a vendor show, the first thing you need to figure out is what you're going to do to get some leads. So there's a couple ways that you can do this, okay? You could set out like a giveaway, enter to win a jar of sprinkles. You could do that. You could do like place an order, get free shipping. You could do, give me your information to get a sample in the mail. That's a really good one, because then you're only getting, people that want, if you set samples out on your table, which sometimes I do, sometimes I do both. But if you set samples out on your table, everybody's going to grab them, whether even kids, and not really going to the right places sometimes. So this way you can kind of control that, and then you have some way to follow up with them. There's a lot of different ways, but you need to have something sitting on your table that gets information. Whether you're offering them a monthly newsletter or a customer list to notify them of any specials that Pink Zebra has, some way you have to get their information. If they buy a product from you and you don't get their information, what's the point? You made money at the moment, but you didn't make money in the future because you didn't follow up with them. You didn't have a way to get their information. So those information slips, I started with one, I think we have them in our team group. I'll double check on that. If we don't, I'll upload some. I started with one, but I didn't really like what was on there. Like, there's certain things that I want to have on that little tiny slip of paper that they fill out. You can put on there, circle if you're interested in booking a party, or learning more about the opportunity, or joining my team, or purchasing, or just talking more about Pink Zebra fundraiser, Heroes charity. There's a million things that you put on there. You find what works for you. Just because somebody else is using a sheet doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So you can just type up something yourself. It doesn't take like 5 seconds, and then come up with something and then copy and paste and print it out. So and have your kids print it or cut it out. So really, it's not that hard to come up with some kind of drawing slip. So you need to have that. I use that same drawing slip when somebody purchases. So if somebody buys, a jar of sprinkles from me, you can give them while I'm bagging up the order, or, a lot of times they want me to put their recipe in the jar, which is fine. I always give them the option, but a lot of times they just want me to do it. So if I do it, then I give them that slip of paper to fill out, and then I have some way of contacting them to, check up on them in the future to see if, they like the scent that they have, and, yada, yada. So that is number one, is that you have got to figure out a way to follow up with your leads, because that is the reason why you're doing vendor shows. Anything else that you might get is going to just be icing on the cake, really. So going into display, what do you need for display? When I first started, most of you, if you're on my team, you've seen my display now. It's pretty huge. And I always get nervous when my new girls come see me at a vendor show, or for potential recruits that see me at a vendor show, because they are always like, oh my gosh. Even if you come over to my office, there's sprinkles everywhere. But I always say the same thing, and for the girls that aren't directly under me, this is what I told your sponsor. It took me a while to get where I'm at with my display. I started the same place that you all started, with a kit and a table. So when I first started doing vendor shows, I didn't have all of that stuff. So that's what you got to remember, is we all started somewhere, and we all started with the same supplies. So when I started doing vendor shows, I just set up my kit and I took orders. So depending on where you're doing the show at is going to decide how you handle the orders. Do you need to direct ship it to them? Is it in your town? Excuse me. So if it's in your town, then you can not charge the $8 and just do the 10% if you have $80 in orders. You have to kind of decide how you're going to handle that shipping. If you have questions about it, reach out to your sponsor or your leader or me, and I can help you figure that out, especially if you're not like in a local area to where you live as far as shipping goes. But just take orders. That's okay. If I go to, some of the other vendor shows as a customer, most of the time I'm going to have to place an order. So it's okay. Don't think that people aren't going to place an order with you. They will. So just set out your testers. That's what I did when I first started. I set out my testers and I grouped them. I just got little, like Rubbermaid containers. I think I got Pink Zebra boxes eventually. And I set out all of my scent categories. So here was all the gourmet ones. Here's all the fruit ones, yada, yada. And so I had them all set out. And that's what I did. And so now that we have scoops, you can come up with a creative way of hanging the scoops. There's just a lot of potential there with what you can do with just your kit. You guys get a lot of stuff in your kit, so that's enough. Don't feel like you need to go and buy a carton of everything. Sorry, still watching my son. A carton of everything to do a vendor show, because you don't. Okay, so you're going to go into a vendor show. You've got a follow-up system somehow to get leads, whether you do a raffle or whatever you do. I just use an empty carton container. You can obviously use anything you have. It doesn't, at first, I didn't have an empty carton container, so I think I just used, I don't know what I used, some container. And there you go. So you got to follow up with leads, so you got a system for that. And number two, you're just going to take your kit and a table. And you're going to rock that kit and a table is what you're going to do. Okay, so number three is what to wear or how to act. Okay, so you're going to want to wear, if you have something Pink Zebra, that's great. Eventually you will. If you just started, you probably don't yet. You can go to Town and Country and get shirts or different apparel. There's tank tops, everything on there, and that's under your back office. So you can get some apparel there if you want to eventually down the road. Otherwise, just wear nice clothes. It's getting to be summer, so it's okay to whip out some capris because I have some done events that's really, really hot, and so you want to make sure that you're comfortable but still presentable. You are representing not only Pink Zebra, but you are representing yourself as a business. You want to make sure that you look nice. You don't want to look like you just rolled out of bed with some Eeyore pajama bottoms on. You don't want that. So make sure that you look presentable, you're clean, you know, your teeth brushed, all that kind of stuff that you all know already. And then when the event starts, so you have your stuff laid out. I don't usually hand out catalogs unless I know that that person is going to order or join. In the fall, I hand out more catalogs because obviously it's a gift giving season and that's our busiest time, so I hand out more catalogs then. Otherwise, I do our purse brochures. So those are a really good investment for you, and you all have that in your kit too, so no added expense there. So I always hand out the purse brochure, and you can just, if you don't have business cards or labels, just write your website on the back and your phone number and your name. You don't have to have business cards right away. Just take a pink permanent marker or whatever and write your information on there. So there again, not an added expense that you have to do, just with your kit at a show. So I hand those out, so I always have those on the table along with my business cards, and I have one catalog out that they can browse through, and that's the same. That catalog just kind of, you know, it gets, especially at busy shows, kind of gets torn apart and everything, so I just have one catalog that I do for each show that I set out. So you're going to want to, some people say to be in front of your table, which is actually the right protocol, is to be in front of your table. However, I sometimes usually go behind my table just because I'm blocking the view and our products are hands-on, so I really need to get them to the table. So somebody's walking by, make sure you know, hey, you know, good morning, have you heard of Pink Zebra, you know, go into your spiel then. All right. And so as far as, you know, we've gone over in other videos what to say, you know, especially handling the common questions that we hear. So make sure you check out the other videos on that. Know that your sponsor and I are always a text away. So if you have a situation or a question you don't know, quickly text us and we'll be right there. Or if you have a big event coming up that you're worried about, let us know in advance to make sure that one of us is going to be ready, and just in case. So you always have a, what do they call it, like phone to friend or whatever in that one game show. You always have that available. We're always available for you to get a hold of if you have a question that you don't know. I always take, you can see in my other shows that I've done for packing for a party, what I keep my money in. And so you can check that out. That's what I use. And I just take that right to the bank. And that's my sole source of keeping money and orders and leads and all that kind of stuff all together in one little area in one bag. When the event's over, always thank the coordinator and let her know that if there's another event that you would like to be notified. Most of them, once you get in, they'll email you for future ones. So you want to make sure that you're on that. While you're at the show, again, networking with the other vendors, you want to make sure that you get to know them. You never know when, you know, you might want to like product swap, or, you know, swap parties even, or maybe do a joint party. You never know, and those direct sales people are amazing. The people that I've met through vendor shows, they're friends for life. I love them. We're a really tight group of friends, and I just love them. So you'll get into that kind of group too and kind of network. And I know a lot of our events, we get out our planners and we're like, okay, you know, here I'm doing a show here, this day I'm doing a show here, you know, and we kind of network that information back and forth. I take a tablet just in case I would get somebody that is interested in joining at that time, but you can do that on your phone too. So that's pretty much the gist of it, as far as how to find events, what to do, what to take, and the purpose behind events. As far as cash and carry prices, I'm still looking for a graphic for that. I know that we had one, but I don't think it's updated with the recent glimmer candles options. So I'm still on the hunt for that, and I will be continuing to look for that. If not, I'll just make up one of my own, but it just won't be all cutesy like all the rest of them. You can put out that sign too. Sometimes, usually when I do a candle bar, I set out a price list right there, and I just laminated it and hang it on my table. What else is there? The tablecloth, I use mine is it's a black sheet, flat sheet from Walmart, like $4.88. So that I don't go crazy on my tablecloth, and then I do use the runner that we got from Town and Country, so that's available in your back office. I think that pretty much covers the whole deal with that. And I guess I better go back out because he's climbing on his house and being a toddler. So if there's any other questions that you have about doing Pink Zebra events, make sure that you let me know and I'd be glad to help you. But hopefully this covers most of your questions. Have a super day. Get outside and enjoy this weather. It's fabulous.